I hate crime. Business was slow. Nobody wanted to kill or maim anybody. There weren't even any husbands who wanted their wives followed, or the other way around. On top of that, my landlady was making sarcastic cracks about the dollar situation. I took a dive for the phone. Larry Kent, private investigation.
Just a moment, please.
It was a trunk line call. I waited a couple of minutes.
Here you are. Hello? Hello? Mr. Kent?
That's right.
Oh, my name is Betty Morrow.
Well, what can I do for you?
Well, I'd like to hire your services.
Where are you calling from?
The Sunnyside Ranch House. It's just outside Lura.
Uh-huh. What's been happening out there?
Well, it's all rather mysterious. I'd rather see you before I talk about it. Can you come right away?
Now, wait a minute. How do I know this isn't a gag?
Well, you could hang up, ask for trunk lines, and tell the operator you want the Sunnyside Ranch House, Lura.
That's just what I did. 20 minutes later.
Satisfied?
Well, you're there all right, but how do I know I'll get paid?
As I told you, my name is Betty Morrow. Morrow Construction Company, Morrow Importing Company, Morrow...
Hey, wait a minute. Didn't I see a picture of you in a magazine?
Well, there was a photo. Just a few weeks ago.
A masquerade ball.
Yes, that's right.
And you were dressed as a futuristic beach girl.
Yes.
Hey, that was a nice costume you were wearing. What was it made of?
3 pocket handkerchiefs.
I'll be right there. I got to Lura within a few hours. A mile or so outside the town, a dirt track turned off the main road. Overhead was a rustic sign that read, Sunnyside Ranch House, strictly private. The ranch house was set a few hundred yards back. It was a long, low, sprawling log affair. I parked my car as close as I could get beneath some pine trees and walked towards the joint. That's when old Ironside...
What is the meaning of all this?
...made her appearance.
Well?
Who are you?
I am Mrs. Fitzroy Parker, the manageress of this establishment.
Oh, well, my name is Larry Kent. I
wouldn't care if you were Leroy Hodge III.
Who's he?
A male. And men are not allowed within this property. It's a rule I have adhered to for over 30 years.
Oh, you've been missing a lot of fun.
How dare you?
Look, I got a call to come here.
I do not believe it. It's impossible. Utterly impossible. Who on earth would do such a thing?
Me, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker.
Miss Morrow, what did you say?
I asked Mr. Kent to come here.
What? Have you gone stark raving mad? You know my rules.
Mr. Kent is a private detective.
What?
All the way from America.
An American? An American in Australia?
Well, I can understand your surprise. I had to fight my way off the boat.
Quiet, you. Quiet. Well, Miss Morrow, I'm waiting patiently for an explanation before I contact your parents and make them aware of your atrocious behavior.
I don't think you'll do that, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker.
And what makes you so sure that I won't?
Well, I asked Mr. Kent to come here to investigate a prowler.
A prowler?
A man. A suspicious-looking man. Came through those hedges twice yesterday.
A man? Oh, no. This can't possibly be happening to me. Who saw him?
I saw him once, and Beryl Goodwin the second time.
Is that why I came all the way?
Well, there are only 4 of us women here, Mr. Kent. and Mrs. Fitzroy Parker.
Oh, I'm ruined. Ruined.
Did this prowler try to pull anything?
No, he ran as soon as he was seen.
What can we do? Oh, what can we do?
Well, I knew you didn't want to contact the police.
The police? Oh, no, no. Heaven forbid. The notoriety, the scandal. My reputation would be ruined.
Well, you don't have to worry about Mr. Kent. He's a private detective. And you do have that empty cabin.
Are you suggesting that a man stay here? Within 50 yards of us?
I can promise that you don't have a thing to worry about.
The idea is impossible.
This prowler may kill us all in our sleep.
Oh, my dear, don't ever say that again.
If you don't let Mr. Kent stay here and protect us, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker, I shall be forced to phone the police.
Oh, but you can't do that, my dear.
I will if you don't let him stay.
Oh, very well. Very well. Come along, Mr. Kent.
Old Ironside sent Betty to a room, then showed me a cabin that was set 50 yards or so from the main building. After that, we went into the big shack. There was a living room with wall, ceiling, and floor made from unfinished timber.
Those 4 rooms just off are occupied by my guests. All of them are daughters of respectable, well-to-do families.
Mm-hmm. Do you board them?
I have them here 3 weeks of every year. They come for their health, and because their parents know that I'm a suitable chaperone.
That's why no men, huh?
Exactly.
Huh. When do I meet the girls?
Before lunch. But you, of course, will be expected to eat alone in the kitchen.
And who's in the kitchen?
Miss Hepzibah Crane, my housekeeper.
Nobody else around?
No one.
If you don't mind, I think I'll have a walk around the property.
Before you go, I want it understood that you're not to, bother the girls in any way.
Right.
In any way, Mr. Kent.
She left very little to the imagination. The ranch house property was surrounded by a fence on 3 sides, a hedge on the other. I went towards the hedge, figuring I might see some of the prowler's footprints. I found something nicer.
Hello.
She was a brunette, fairly tall, with sharp eyes and mocking lips. Slim where she should be slim, and variations where you expected them.
You're Larry Kent, aren't you?
Yep.
I'm Marcia Trent. Betty's told me all about you. What are you doing?
Just looking around.
Why don't you rest for a while?
Well, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker might see me. And you.
That old battle axe.
Don't you like her?
No matter what I said about Mrs. Fitzroy Parker, it would be an understatement.
Why do you bother coming here?
I'm a problem child. All of us are problem children. That's why our parents send us here. Holiday in the open air without the danger of romance.
Oh. Well, as much as I like the scenery here, I'll have to be on my way.
Before you go...
Yeah?
Mrs. Fitzroy Parker takes a nap every afternoon at 2, no matter what happens.
Yeah?
And over there, just 100 yards away, is a stream.
Yeah?
Every afternoon I go there, take off my shoes and wait. So, if you want to get your feet wet...
I'll remember that.
See that you do.
Great place. I finally found my footprints near an opening in the hedge, but that was all. I went to the cabin.
Hello?
This one was a redhead. Flashing brown eyes, a round face, a figure that made the island of Bali look like a reserve for underprivileged women. She was smoking a cigarette in a long black holder.
Mrs. Fitzroy Parker prohibits smoking in the main cabin. Your door was open, so I walked in.
How nice. And what would your name be?
Beryl Goodwin.
Let's see, there's you, Betty Morrow, and Marcia Trent. Who's the fourth one?
Elaine Kingsley. She's a blonde. I'm the only redhead here. Do you like redheads?
Sure.
Oh, some men don't. They say we have vile tempers. Oh, but that's not true. Really, we're awfully affectionate.
Yeah?
You have a lovely dimple in your chin.
Hey, that tickles.
How long do you think you'll be staying here?
Well, that depends on our prowler.
In that case, I wish him a long, successful prowl. Oh, but I'll have to go now. Mrs. Fitzroy Parker may come looking for me any minute. Oh, she's an awful killjoy.
Yeah.
But she takes a nap every afternoon. 2.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do while she's napping,
Well, I usually sneak in here and have a cigarette. So, if you like a few puffs...
I'll keep it in mind.
Well, don't forget now. Dimples. See you later.
She crept out the back way. So far, I had dates for getting my feet wet and puffing on a dame's cigarette. Who is it?
Betty, let me in quickly before the old battle axe sees me. Let me close the door.
She leaned against the door, and I took my first good look at her. Dark brown hair cut boyishly. The eyes of a wood sprite. And she wore a sweater that was the best ad I'd ever seen for the Australian Wool Board. I asked what was on her mind.
Well, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker takes a nap every afternoon, at 2.
Is that a fact?
And, I always take a walk at that time. I was wondering if you might want to come along. Would you?
It sounds real nice. I'll keep it in mind.
There's a big pine tree on the main road. I'll be waiting beneath it.
I might be late.
I'll try to be patient.
Mr. Kent! Mr. Kent, are you in there, Mr. Kent?
Old Ironside, you better go out the back.
I'm on my way.
Mr. Kent! Mr. Kent!
Okay.
Oh, thank heavens you're here. Thank heavens you're here.
What's up?
A tragedy. A tragedy. Miss Elaine Kingsley.
What about her?
A man took her away.
Took her away?
He had her by the arm ruthlessly, cruelly.
Well, stop sounding like a soap opera. Where did they go?
I saw them near the road. He pulled her into the car and drove away.
What direction?
The city.
What kind of a car?
A blue coupe.
See you later. They didn't have more than a couple of minutes start on me, and my car does 90. I saw a blue coupe on the road ahead, just a few miles outside Lura. A guy was at the wheel, a dame beside him. They weren't going more than 30. Elaine Kingsley was the one dame I hadn't met at the ranch house. But as I pulled alongside and waved for the driver to stop, I could see that the tomato inside was scared. The guy, too. He rammed his foot on the gas. I stepped it up, too. Gradually, I came alongside again, figuring I'd get well ahead of him and block the road, but then he stopped short. I couldn't. I went off the road over a gully, through some bushes, and stopped. Broken axle. The blue coupe had started again and was gone. I went to the road, hailed a car that took me back to the ranch house. Old Ironsides and the 3 dames were waiting for me.
What happened? What in the world happened, Mr. Kent?
I told them.
The prowler. It must have been. Oh, my business. What will happen to me now?
The question is, what's happening to the girl?
He's a kidnapper. He'll be sending a ransom note. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Kingsley will be furious. Furious.
Yeah, I'm going to go and use your phone.
The police, Mr. Kent?
That's right.
But that might only endanger Elaine all the more.
How come?
Well, look, the man is probably desperate. If he finds out the police are after him, well, there's just no telling what he'll do.
There's no telling what he'll do now.
The police? Oh, what a terrible, terrible catastrophe. Oh, that this should happen to me.
Shut up.
What did you say?
He said, shut up.
That means keep your trap closed.
Oh, I think I'm going to faint.
As it didn't matter to me whether she fainted or started doing a jig, I went to the ranch house, picked up the phone. Hey. Huh.
What's the matter, Mr. Kent?
The phone, it's dead.
Dead? Here, let me have it. You're right. It is.
Yeah, and here's the reason. Why I pulled out of the wall.
The prowler must have pulled it out.
Is there a car here?
Only Mrs. Fitzroy Parker's station wagon.
Where is it?
Oh, you can't use it.
Why not?
Oh, something's broken. The garage man is coming to fix it tomorrow.
That's nice. How do I get word to the cops?
I'll tell you the best way. Get Mrs. Fitzroy Parker's housekeeper, Miss Crane. She can get a ride to the nearest phone and give the police all details.
Good idea.
I'll go and tell her now.
Okay. It was a Chevrolet Coupe, blue. The guy was about 30, wore a gray hat, license number BAA321.
BAA321.
Oh, which room is Elaine's?
That one.
I went in. Looked around. On a table was a magazine, open. There was a series of pictures on a society wedding. There was another magazine, too. Enthralling Love Stories, it was called. I had company.
I always wanted to see a detective in action. What are you doing? Looking for clues?
That's right.
Find any?
Maybe.
What, fingerprints? A torn button?
Tell me, how well off are Elaine's people?
Oh, they're rolling in money.
Then she'd be a good kidnapping prospect, huh?
Oh, yes. Do you have a light?
Sure.
I said we'd have a few puffs together.
Looks like we'll have to call that date off for the time being.
Oh, why? We're here together and... Look, I'll show you a really interesting way of smoking. Now, I take a puff. Now I transfer the smoke to you. It is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Think of the fun we could have with a cigar.
Let's try that again.
Mr. Kent, Oh,
hello, Betty. Mr. Kent is looking for some clues.
yes. I can see one on his cheek.
Oh,
I sent Miss Crane.
fine.
Well,
Oh, don't go away.
you don't want me here, do you?
Sweet child.
I've got some questions. What kind of a dame was Elaine?
How do you mean?
Well, was she talkative?
As a matter of fact, she wasn't. She kept very much to herself.
Why did her parents send her here?
The same reason we all came here, probably. To keep us out of mischief.
Uh-huh. Now, these novels here on her dressing table, The Romantic Years, Love Affair, Lord Hamilton, were they hers?
Oh, yes. All Mrs. Fitzroy Parker keeps around here are almanacs and dictionaries. Oh, and the phone book, of course.
The phone. Well, where can I find a pair of pliers and rubber gloves?
What are you going to do?
After we scouted up rubber gloves and pliers, I showed them. I fixed the phone. It took me 3/4 of an hour, which meant that an hour and a half had passed since I chased the blue coupe. Then I got trunk lines to give me a number in Sydney.
J.C. Smith Detective Agency. J.C. speaking.
Smitty, this is Larry Kent. Oh, don't sound so disappointed. I've got some work to throw your way.
Oh, well, what is it?
I told him. While I spoke, the girls, and old Ironsides, sat at the other end of the room trying hard to hear what I'd been saying. But I'd kept my voice low. Now I sat down and lit a cigarette.
Who was that you called, Mr. Kent?
A friend.
It was a Sydney call, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Did it concern Elaine?
That's right. And the guy with her.
Then you know who he is.
Well, not who he is, but what he is.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you after my friend phones back.
Oh, look outside. Oh, the terrible, terrible police have arrived.
It was a sergeant and his offsider who'd been contacted by the housekeeper. They walked around, asked questions, took descriptions, and generally tried to keep from slugging Mrs. Fitzroy Parker.
Off my carpets, gentlemen. Please keep your dirty boots off my carpets.
An hour passed, and then the cops amused themselves outside. I grabbed the phone. Hello.
Hello, Larry.
Yeah.
Smithy here.
What happened?
You were right.
Great. What did you do?
Just like you told me.
Attaboy, Smithy. Thanks.
Hey, wait a minute. My fee!
See you tomorrow. So long.
You look very happy, Mr. Kent.
I am. We've got the Prowler and Elaine.
What? Where were they found? How was he captured?
Friend of mine just walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder.
Ah, a coward. Of course, they're all cowards.
Oh, I don't know, Mrs. Fitzroy Parker. I'd say it takes a lot of courage to be a groom.
A what?
A groom. A husband.
Husband?
Uh-huh.
What in the world are you talking about?
Elaine's husband.
You're crazy. You must be crazy.
Do you mean to say, Mr. Kent, that Elaine is married?
That's right. At the registry office in Sydney just about an hour ago.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, then, you mean to say she wasn't kidnapped after all?
No. They eloped.
Eloped? Oh, I'm ruined. Utterly ruined. Miss Kingsley was my responsibility. What will Mr. and Mrs. Kingsley say?
Well, you'll find out very soon. My friend in Sydney drove Elaine and her new husband out to the Kingsley place.
Oh, he's probably a ditch digger or a sailor or something. Oh, dear, they'll never forgive me. Never.
How did you find out it was an elopement, Mr. Kent?
Oh, a lot of little things. First of all, Mrs. F.P. here
Oh.
saw Elaine and the guy going towards the blue coupe. Now, if she was being kidnapped, she'd have screamed or put up some kind of a resistance.
Oh, how romantic.
How disgraceful.
How clever of you, Mr. Kent.
How much do I owe you, Mr. Kent?
Oh, we'll talk about money later. Right now, I'm enjoying myself.
More clues, Mr. Kent?
Yeah. When I chased the car, it was only going 30. Now, that's a bit respectable for a kidnapper, especially when everybody else hits at least 40.
Oh, how clever.
How revolting.
How many more clues, Mr. Kent?
How close can you get to him, Marcia?
Ah, this is wonderful. But the other clues. A magazine open to a spread about a wedding. Another magazine and some books all about love. Then the fact that Elaine always kept to herself. All of it adding up to an elopement.
Oh, I like elopements.
Would you take a check, Mr. Kent?
Sure. But, I like to discuss money in private. Your room?
All right.
How revolting.
Couple of minutes later, we'd agreed on how much my services were worth. So, Betty made out the check.
There you are.
Thanks. Now, here's something for you.
Mr. Kent... Larry.
Good night.